Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to everybody. 5 to 7 minutes is a very tough time, sir. We will try to do justice to the time. I think to relate to my topic on whatever I'm going to speak, I just want to pick up one or 2 points spoken by Dr. Khan as well as Dr. James. Dr. Khan spoke about the quality in education, and Dr. James spoke about the scale that we need to achieve because the GR is already growing up, and then it's at a level of somewhere around 13 to 20%, and he said he's talking about 25%. So I want to relate these two data as we move along, and before we get into the data, I just wanted to pick up some points because during the last conference we presented some points, and we thought we'll just pick up that as a quick 10-second slide. We were talking about certain myths in the area of examinations and how we how the market has broken those myths. So I just want to talk about that first. People have been talking about online examinations or computer-based examinations for quite some time, but there has been a myth that it's difficult to secure and it cannot be large and widespread. Students in rural locations will not be comfortable in taking such examinations, and it's only about technology and nothing else. And whenever people think of technology or computers in examinations, they always talk about an MCQ and nothing else. These are all the typical myths that were there in the market. And if you really look at some of the examples that I just want to put across what has happened in the market, all these myths have been broken in the last 1 year or so. Let me put a quick data here. We talked about student enrollment in the higher education and the number of institutions that have been coming up here. With this kind of growth, and if you really look at it, there is already a lot of pressure in these institutions to handle the examinations. Sir, if you talk about quality in education, you go to almost any university. It's the rigor in examination that brings in quality or brand equity to the particular institution. It's the rigor in examination. You talk about CAT, people who clear that exam, they get in through. Or if you talk about typical IIT system, it's the rigor in examination. That's a very, very important part. So we are talking about what are all the transformational practices that can come into examinations, in turn that can improve the overall quality of our education system. I just want to list some of the large examinations that went, because we spoke about the previous slide of breaking the myths. Some of the large examinations that went on the computer-based mode. If not in full, partially they all went in. AIEEE went in for about approximately 2 lakh of exams were taken in the online mode. So these are all the large exams. And at the current GER, these are the numbers. Sir, imagine if it is going to touch the US levels, the kind of numbers that are going to come in. Therefore, the services around an examination is typically today is professionally run, and a lot of service providers have come in to support the university system. Maybe with that point, I just want to move on to this and just to give you some idea of what kind of institutions that have gone on a computer-based examination mode. You look at it, you have GATE, you have AIEEE, you have NIMHANS, we can see VIT, Manipal, even institutions like Tata Memorial, though the numbers are small but very critical exams, they all have gone online. This is just to pick up some few. We have picked it up from central universities, state universities, and the private universities. And everyone has moved on the computer-based mode. And maybe 3-5 years down the line, we would rather talk about the best practices or how we can improvise it rather than talking about moving on to the computer-based mode. Now, let me come to the crux of I'm just picking up some of the news items that came in. When some of the exams were going on, I don't want to name the exams because it's not appropriate, but the idea is to highlight an important quality-related point here. Exam server crash, 400 hit. This came in from Indian Express. And online registration starts on a chaotic note. Times of India talks about it. Technical snag delays exam by an hour, DNA India. Candidate unhappy with the test center allocation. So you get these kind of things, they keep coming up. So while people have moved on to the online exam mode, what are the best practices? What are the ways and means to bring in rigor in the exam as well as satisfy the candidate who is actually sitting there as a customer too? So let's move on to some of the best practices. if you have to build confidence into the overall system, if you want to build quality, we have to build the quality by design and not by chance. If you get into an aircraft, it's a classic example of building quality by design and not by chance. You will never step into an aircraft if they say that maybe I have 1% chance of an aircraft going down. I'm just giving you an example. None of us will get in there. Maybe we'll have to look at these examinations with that mode because of the criticality that is coming into these examinations. So some of the important leverage, I want to pick up some of the important points here. We are a country with very large numbers. When people wanted to move from a paper-based exam to the computer-based exam, we still think that I've been doing 5 lakh, 10 lakh people taking exam in one single day. Let me move all of them to the computer-based, single question paper, let them do it on a single day. We are just replicating, copying that. Some exams have moved on a slightly different mode. Out of even the names shown there, they all have gone on a multi-batch mode. So the first point that we want to leave is that there are best practices available across the globe. Multi-batch examination and equating is available. So any exam that you talk about, whether it is an entrance examination or even if it is a semester examination, you can bring in multi-batch and then equate them. You can run through the entire examination in batches. This is the first point. And before you get into these examinations, today everybody is talking about doing the exam quick and fast. The most important point here is, are you preparing for that particular event, doing enough quality dry runs for that? The third point, I think this is very relevant, Dr. Khan, coverage of test centers across the country. Recently we heard that some of the rural candidates who are aspiring for a career which they've been dreaming about, but when they were allotted a seat, they were given about 1,000 miles away. They didn't have the money even to fly down and take the exam. Poor candidates, what can they do? So this is a very, very important part of conducting the examinations. We must reach out to a candidate who is a poor village boy close to his place. You can't say that I'll do in only 20 cities. I can't reach out to Northeast. We can't be saying that. They are all used to taking the examinations in their college or in their institute. Maybe you can make them travel 50 or 100 kilometers, not more than that. So this is very, very important point, and we need to keep this at the back of your mind. Worldwide, people have always talked about candidate convenience first. So this is an important point that we want to leave here as a best practice. And application processing. People are used to, even if you go for your bus ticket today, you want to book your ticket and then you want to know what's your seat, right? You want to walk in. So give that convenience to the candidate. Allow him to go there, book it online. Well, the moment you spread out a batch, today we are a country of multiple exams. If he's writing 10 exams, give him that option of picking up his slot and then writing the exams on a different day. These are all some of the best practices that we must insist and then we should follow. So we are talking about convenience for the candidate who is applying. Different models available. We are a country with different tolerance levels. So, and there are some institutions that would say that no. Well, I understand that the network is secure, but I still want everything physically inside. If you really look at it as a country, the RBI or banks have put the financial transactions into a third-party data center. They're all hot cash. It's all kept outside. They don't keep it inside their four walls, physical four walls. But in the education system, we still believe that no, my question paper is secure. I don't want to be giving outside my four walls. But there are models available. You can still take the entire setup inside the four walls of the institute and then run it. So different models available. So we need to meet the requirements of the customer by matching the needs of the market requirement there. And another part that we want to tell is that maybe I'll give you for the last point, I want to give you as example. I've used the word multiple vendor. It's about building redundancy into your system. Maybe when I come there, I will elaborate. Before that, I want to just show you one example. CAT 2010 and 11, these two particular drives, there is a difference to this particular drive because the service provider that actually took this, they outsourced a good part of that to two different vendors. So it's a classic example of how they could bring in the best of strengths of different parties and make the exam run successfully on the ground. So the service provider that actually got the contract from the IIM committee, they also brought in a few more service providers who are good in that space and then made use of them, made them collaborate, made them work together and then ran it as a success. So the point what I want to bring in is that benefits of bringing in multiple service provider in large examination is plenty. You are building redundancy into the system. It's just not technology. It's about knowledge of processes, knowledge of your own or the institute's processes getting known to multiple people. So bring in multiple people. If there is an apex body, the government-run body can do more of a governance, and they bring in multiple service providers into one single basket and then make them work together, the country is going to benefit. So because the exams are going to be large, whatever the number we saw, 1.2, 1.3 million, we know that it will grow to 2.5, 3 million, 4 million. So to handle those numbers, to bring in redundancy into the system and to bring in the best practices, we will have to have multiple service providers running into those exams. Okay, we talked about computer-based exams, and we talked about best practices. Since I have 2 more minutes, Dr. Khan has already shown me that placard, so I have 2 more minutes, but I want to just move on to a completely different topic, because we are talking about transformational practices, and we thought, we'll make use of this opportunity to tell what's happening there in the industry. We are all used to a descriptive examination, right? You can never remove a descriptive examination out of your overall evaluation system. Number of boards are today using it, universities are using it. I'll just give you a classic example, and I'm only putting a question and I don't want to bring in an answer. How many times you have seen that, you have, say, a physics professor or a chemistry professor who is very good, even if you're waking up by night 2 o'clock, he will be banging there and then he knows what is the right answer. But if you ask him to just do one totaling work, it's a mundane job for him, and beyond after 10 or 15 scripts, he gets bored because he doesn't like it at all, number one. And today, if you look at the marking practices, they're all made to come into one central place. There are huge totaling errors. At times, a marker will slip one question completely. And another classic example, assume that I'm a marker, say chemistry professor, and correcting a 12th standard examination of a rural boy. And I think that a 20 marks question, I think for a moment that this is 10. And then I start correcting, giving answers for 10 for the next 100 students. And the next day morning I come in and I realize that, oh, this is 20, I made a mistake. And then from the next day onwards, I start giving 20. It makes a huge difference. Today in our systems, there's no way you can figure out the qualitative issues. Therefore, we are talking about a transformational practice that few institutions have already started. It's about on-screen marking, so bringing the answer script in front of a marker, where the marker is normally not allowed to make those mistakes of missing a question paper, thinking a 10-mark question as 20 or 20 as 10, no totaling errors. On top of that, irrespective of the domain, you can also rate the marker. Imagine today, if there is a totaling error, a poor village boy who is writing his 12th standard exam, he does not even have the money to pay to the bus fare to go and write an exam. Do you think he'll have that 500 rupees to go and ask for a re-evaluation? It's costing him heavily. So those errors are costing a poor village boy heavily. So practices like this will have to come into all our boards and university systems. And we just want to tell you that few boards, premier boards in the country, have already taken a pilot. Pilot have moved very, very successfully. And personally, we see that this on-screen marking as a service will get into the entire university system, because the Supreme Court has also forced each and every university to give back the answer script to a student who has written the exam. If there are 10 lakh people who are writing an exam, and if the 50,000 are asking for a script, very difficult to jump in and then pull it back. How about giving the answer script by clicking a mouse and then pushing him a PDF copy on his mailbox? That's the way it has to move, and we believe that there are systems, processes, technology is available, and there are service providers who have already done this work. I just want to leave just a few points there for your thought. Maybe if you have any questions, I'll be very glad to answer after this session. Thank you very much, and thanks for this opportunity.
Thanks, Nagin.